Damn. Today's the day that we get the new Democratic Democracy Warbond, and to be perfectly honest here, I thought this would be everything we would see from Helldivers today, but Arrowhead said, hold our beer, and they've decided to put in some overtime, along with a ton of new stuff that we need to get through today. Welcome to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and besides the new weapons and gear from that Warbond, which I've unlocked and tested out for you, and you'll be seeing very soon along with some of my initial thoughts, there's also been another new development with the Automatons Major Order Offensive. By the way, not good news on that one. Also, out of the blue, we got a whole slew of new ship upgrades, and I also think the devs may have made a sneaky change to the new mission, and this involves a nerf. Yeah, like I said, we've got a lot to get through today. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my daily upload alerts, and here it comes, all the latest from Helldivers. Alright, no reason to beat around the bush. Chapters are up and in place. Use them if you want. And it's straight over to the galaxy map for us, and the pounding continues. The Automatons have now broken through our defensive lines on Matar Bay and have now begun assaulting Martail and Marfark. And I feel like I'm butchering both of those pronunciations, by the way. But anyways, we are now flung into two 24-hour defense campaigns to try to again hold the line, because if we don't, the bots will then spread even further into this sector and potentially others due to the way FTL supply lines work. Same basic premise for Vernon Wells. We need to defend that one as well, or else expect the assault and spread to continue. Now, I said this in yesterday's video, but those liberation campaigns are just there to distract us. Forget them, because all they do is split our forces. Focus in on those three defensive campaigns, or this will get much worse and in a hurry. Also, while I've got the screen up, today's daily order for 15 medals is to get 10 enemy kills with the EAT, and that number is shared across the squad, which means it's going to be no trouble at all. Today's Superstore Reset is showing the FS-34 Exterminator medium body armor with Fortified for reduced recoil and 50% resistance to explosive damage, the matching FS-34 Exterminator helmet that looks just like Kylo Ren, the CE-81 Juggernaut helmet, and finally the CE-81 Juggernaut medium body armor with engineering kit for reduced recoil and +2 grenade capacity. By the way, this is a 2-day reset, but you'll probably be concentrating your efforts on the new Warbond. Next up, and totally unexpected, at least for today, but the devs have dropped in a bunch of new ship module upgrades along with this announcement trailer. It says, Super Destroyer Fleet Upgrade. In response to increased enemy threat, Helldivers are now authorized to requisition level 4 modules for all Super Destroyer systems. Now, I wanted to quickly run through these with you, and remember that each of these is a level 4 upgrade, so the amount of samples required to unlock each is pretty steep, starting off with superior packing methodology. So our resupply boxes will now refill support weapons with the max number of carryable mags. Next up is atmospheric monitoring, which reduces the HE barrage spread by 15% for both 380 and 120 millimeter barrages. Now, I haven't tested this one out, and you probably heard me laughing as I was reading through the description, but the 380 was always the Helldiver killer, as it never seemed to hit anywhere close to where you deployed it. 15%? I'd like to see that like 1,000% better accuracy. Moving further down into these upgrades in the hangar ship modules, we've got the Double XL Weapons Bay. So now all the Eagle stratagems that drop multiple bombs will drop one additional bomb. So this, at least from the wording, will not affect the 500 kg. And could you just imagine a 500 kg barrage? Anyways, next is the Enhanced Combustion upgrade for plus 25% fire damage from stratagems, including the Flamethrower, which was already pretty stout, the Eagle Napalm Airstrike, and Incendiary Mines. If this works the way I think it will, I'd expect us to also take 25% more damage from fire inflicted by our stratagems. Now, fire damage was buffed by 50% in the last patch, right? And if you are currently set on fire, it's pretty much a 1-second kill. Now, I'm going to have to test this one out for myself, but for instance, what happens if a charger you catch on fire just charges by you and catches you on fire? Are we now taking that extra 25% on top of the 50% we got last week from all fire damage? Circuit expansion will now allow your arc thrower and Tesla tower arc effects to jump to one additional enemy. And finally, blast absorption means our sentry turrets will take 50% less damage from explosions, which, at least on paper, sounds pretty decent because there is nothing worse than waiting through a super long cooldown. I mean, you call down your turret like the auto cannon, expecting to wreck some face, and it is one-shotted by a rocket volley from a Devastator. Now, prices for all of these level 4 upgrades is 150 common samples, 150 rare, and either 15 or 20 super samples. And if you're at max, like I am, the rare samples being capped at 250 is what really slows you down through these unlock rates. Expect to do some farming, which, by the way, is fine with me. Now over to the new hotness, the Democratic Detonation Warbond, which is 1,000 super credits to unlock, and you can either purchase these, or if you've been collecting them throughout your missions and haven't been spending them in the Superstore, you should have a decent amount, if not all of them, needed to purchase this Warbond. You can also unlock them as part of your current Warbond, so Arrowhead really makes it easy to get the new items, even without spending IRL money. Big props for them for doing that, by the way. Just taking a quick look at this thing, and page 1 packs on the normal fluff along with the CE27 Groundbreaker medium armor with servo assisted as the passive for 50% more limb health, along with the matching gas mask helmet, which I like. I've currently equipped it. I sprung for the BR14 Adjudicator DMR and the G123 Thermite grenades as well. Page 2 brings in the R36 Eruptor bolt-action rifle and the Expert Extraction Pilot booster. And don't worry, I've got some thoughts and breakdowns a little later in this video on all of this. And finally, there is the CE07 Demolition Specialist Hybrid Light-Medium Body Armor with Engineering Kit for reduced recoil and +2 grenades. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to grind out even more medals to get to and unlock the FS55 Devastator body armor, and this one looks super beefy with that huge blast shield on the chest, and of course, it features Fortified as the passive talent. I also want to get the GP31 grenade pistol and the CB9 exploding crossbow, and once I have them, expect a follow-up report and full breakdown on these as well. Now, sadly, all these new body armors, while looking pretty slick, especially that heavy body armor, are missing any new passive, so there's nothing new here. Now, I'll let you check out the capes, emotes, and helmets for yourself because we now need to hop over to some weapon testing I did this morning with some of the new items. First up is the Adjudicator rifle, which, according to the PlayStation blog article from last week, this was supposed to be an armor-penetrating assault rifle, but it is clearly not, instead falling into the DMR, or Designated Marksman Rifle category. Stats aside, I like to try these weapons out in-game for myself, and sadly the Adjudicator was just not doing it for me, and I like to try to stay honest on these reviews. It defaults to semi-auto mode, and that 550 fire rate is achieved by switching over to full auto, which it can do, but it brings on some serious negative effects, namely insane recoil. Now, I've tried this one versus bots and bugs, and it struggles versus anything but the chaff enemies, and the low base mag size means you are quickly running out of ammo and trying to fit in a quick reload. Also, even versus base enemies, like, say, a hunter, I was seeing the Adjudicator needing sometimes more than one shot to drop them. On paper, this thing looks good, and I really like the overall design of this weapon, but low damage, low mag size, and huge recoil in full auto mode make this weapon one to unlock and probably not to touch past that. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from the Adjudicator is the badass R36 Eruptor, which falls into the explosive weapon category despite being a bolt-action rifle. Now, the Eruptor is quirky, and it really struggles against things like close quarters hordes, but when you're at the right distance and able to connect with a target, the results are glorious. It really is a high-risk, potentially high-reward weapon, if you know what I mean. I'd liken it to using an autocannon in your primary weapon slot with a bit less damage output. Now, the Eruptor can lay down some wild area of effect splash damage, where you can hit one target, and then the explosion radius will take down like 5 or 6 other enemies. It also has medium armor penetration, so you can lay down the hurt on things like Striders and Devastators, along with those baseline enemies. But it all can't be great for the Eruptor, and the handling is really slow and honestly pretty wonky. Your character rotation and weapon rotation rates are nowhere close to being in sync, and you constantly have to wait for the muzzle to catch up with where you want to actually aim. There's also a decent amount of sway, but this thing is really fun to use, and it can even smash through automaton fabricators just like an autocannon. Again, it's quirky and a bit wonky, but crazy fun when it connects. All right, let's focus our attention now onto some gear items, and that Thermite grenade is actually pretty good, especially because it's pretty easy to stick to targets, and it's capable of dropping things like Hulks and other heavies if you're able to stick 3 or more of these to the target. Just remember that this is a DOT, or damage over time grenade, so no quick kills and no huge explosions here. Will I choose Thermite over a standard explosive grenade, or say something like Smoke on Helldive difficulty? Probably not, but you know, it's something new and different. I also wanted to make mention that I did just a brief amount of experimentation with the new Expert Extraction Pilot Booster, which will set you back 55 medals, and it's available on page 1. And it seems to drop the extraction timers by a decent percentage. Now, to be honest, I only got in 1 mission with it on, but a 2-minute timer turned down to something like 1 minute 40 seconds or 1 minute 45 seconds. Honestly, it was a bit hectic at extraction, and I didn't record it. But, you know, don't expect anything like a 50% reduction in timers here. I also don't know if this is going to be a base 15 to 20 second flat reduction across the board, or if this is a percentage factor, meaning on missions with that extra time call-in stratagem effect, will this booster have an even greater effect on how much reduction is applied? As I get in more time with it, I'm going to try to narrow down the numbers, and if you have any feedback on this booster, please sound off in the comment section below. Okay, so at this point, we've got one weapon that is crazy, one weapon that's pretty much a hard pass, a grenade that can be useful in certain circumstances, and a booster that seems fairly good, but I need a bit more testing with it. Again, expect the grenade pistol and crossbow thoughts once I have them unlocked. Okay, let's finish up today with what I think was a stealth change to the Evacuate High Value Assets missions, and it has to do with the overall strength of those gates. Yesterday, the bots, even on Helldive, were struggling to destroy the gates and never made it past the outer gates, but today, on level 7, they were smashing through those very same gates, and we had some seriously hectic moments when they destroyed the final gate and were within range of destroying the generators. Now, we ended up holding them, but even with heavy mortars and EATs just hitting them in the face over and over, along with anything else we could chuck at them, it was touch and go right up to the end and extraction. Let me know if you're seeing the same on that mission change, and I welcome any feedback you have on the new weapons and, of course, those ship modules. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials can be found in the video description, including an open invite link to my fast-growing Helldivers Discord community, complete with LFG areas and free voice channels once you find that perfect squad. Thank you so much to the nearly 217,000 of you legends out there that have hit subscribe. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.